join us for our weekly update. Really, the clue is in the name, okay? This is Admiral Markets Market Pulse Weekly Update, an opportunity for me to give you a little bit of insight into what we see happening from today for the next week forward until next Wednesday. An opportunity to have a little look at the specific main themes, specific sort of pieces of news that would be of relevance and interest to us, and also have a look at particular markets that might be of relevance and interest to us, whether they be as part of our analysis, part of our investment plan, or part of our trading plan. So, without further ado, let's move on with our session this evening. As always, we look to begin with a quick risk disclaimer, and you can take a few moments there to familiarise yourself with the risk disclaimer. Just always remembering that trading on margin does involve risk, and that ultimately you are responsible for your own trading decisions. Okay, so our agenda for all of our market pulse sessions is really me talking through how you can understand and analyse global financial markets, how investors and traders can turn this analysis to their advantage, and also how can you trade and invest with Admiral Markets. As I said, I understand we do have a broad range of experience of people who join us, some at the very start of their journey, some as intermediate traders and investors. I also do recognise that some of the people join us are particularly focused on trading. Some of them are more focused on long-term investing. And so hopefully we'll be able to cover elements that cover both ends of that spectrum, and also show you the sort of different technological solutions that Admiral Markets can provide you to help you in engaging with financial markets. Be interesting to know for those of you here joining me for the live session here this evening on this Wednesday night. Be interested to know, what do you consider yourself to be? Do you consider yourself to be more of a trader? Do you consider yourself to be more of an investor, longer term investor? Or do you actually engage in both? It'd be great to know what your own definition is of how you look to operate. You can put that in the chat box, would be much appreciated. For those who don't know me, my name's Paul. Traded and invested for many years, traded for funds, traded for clients. In my trading, primarily, I am a very rules-based trader who focuses on FX indices, commodities. I tend to be trend trader for swing and position trades. And for intraday trading, I tend to be a mean reversion and reversal trader. And my intuitive my investing is much more intuitive, okay, based around particular themes that I'm interested in, or particular event opportunities that arise for me. And in one of our future sessions, we'll actually go into how I look at that myself, so that I can share with you my own particular range of experiences. Okay, as I said, I appreciate some people are at the start of their journey, not only as traders and investors, but also at the start of their journey with Admiral Markets. So just a quick couple of slides there just to help educate people about what Admiral Markets can provide you. As I said, Admiral Markets are a very well-established broker that provides both trading and investing routes to market. You can also see they provide news and updates from established providers. There's a wide range of financial instruments and various asset classes that you can engage with. There's also comprehensive education by myself and also my other colleagues at Admiral Markets. And you can see we also have a great rating by Trustpilot. When it comes to education, we pride ourselves on being able to provide regular webinars with market experts like myself and other individuals. There are elements of live market analysis like today's sessions. There is also a premium analytics portal that, as a client of Admiral Markets, you have access to. There's also a research terminal, which we'll touch on a little bit later. And there is also an academy platform that you can work through. For those of you who wish to focus more on trading, just so that you're aware, as you can see, there's over 4,000 available instruments as both FX and CFDs on commodities, indices, stocks. There is a very sophisticated trading environment with good leverage for retail clients able to sort of access markets through both the MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5 platform with the Admiral Markets Supreme Edition. And there is also a mobile app for traders who particularly like to operate whilst mobile and on the go. Whereas if you find yourself more of a sort of a long-term investor, well, there's still over 4,000 available stocks and ETFs that you can engage with. There is also the opportunity for fractional investing through both shares and ETFs. There is also an auto-invest capability in the mobile app. And in terms of platforms, once again, you have MT5, you have a Web Trader Edition, and also the Admiral Markets mobile. And you'll find that Admiral Markets are always adding additional technological solutions for their clients. So, as we said, there's a research terminal available for MT4 and MT5. There's a web terminal. There is also the VPS there, and also investing calculators. And there is always a continuous rollout of technological solutions that can help you, whether you be a trader or whether you be an investor. Okay, so as I said, I appreciate there's lots of people who are new on their journey, so we always like to just make them available or aware of what actually is available for them with Admiral Markets. But of course, here we are today to have a look at our Market Pulse weekly update. And it's fair to say, I think that we live in interesting times, as the old Chinese proverb goes, and within those interesting times, there are many global financial developments that can affect every trader and investor's strategy. And so part of that requires, planning to be able to have the right type of information as well as the right timing when acting. So in our weekly webinar series, we're going to focus on how to navigate through the global markets and filter that information that comes our week. So each week, Wednesday evening, as I said, we'll look at the major themes affecting the markets this week. And so this from Wednesday to Wednesday. We'll have a little look at a market analysis of the major global markets. I think it helps people just to get a big picture snapshot. We'll always be able to have discussions about trading and investing. And as always, you're very welcome to place your questions there. If I can answer them, I will. If not, we'll make sure somebody on the Admiral Markets team will be able to help support you. And there will also be, a view of and an introduction to some of the tech solutions that are provided by Admiral Markets. And the whole idea is to help educate you and provide a bit of insight in markets and the ways that traders and investors can engage with them. And as I said, I appreciate some people are traders. I appreciate some people are investors. Some people are both, and that's perfectly fine. Whichever one of those three elements or those three pathways that you see, that's absolutely fine. It is about what works best for you, and I'm hoping that in every week there'll be something that you can just take away. Okay, just take away and help you move forward in your own journey as a trader and investor. Okay, so let's have a little look at the themes, okay? The things that we see that are happening between now and next Wednesday that we might want to be aware of, and that could have an impact on markets, regardless of whether you are a trader or an investor. I think probably the big one, all right. So the big one that every man and his dog is sort of sat waiting for is, of course, this evening we have the earnings out of Nvidia. Nvidia, is an absolute freight train in terms of its power and its direction and its speed in terms of where it's going, and it has a huge impact not only on US markets but in fact entire global markets. The size of Nvidia is just absolutely stupendous. And I think it's sort of, grown tenfold even in the last sort of two and a half years, and now actually makes up such a massive part of those US markets. And of course, also part of that has been because it's been at the sort of forefront of the theme of AI over the last 18 months, 2 years. And of course, people are interested in particular the sort of sales of their Blackwell chips. So their earnings come out in, I think it's about that'll be probably maybe about 3 and a bit hours after the market closes in the US this evening, depending upon where you are in the world joining us. But you can absolutely rest assured that traders investors, analysts, and the like will be keenly watching and waiting to see what those Nvidia earnings are. They're talking about how in their Q3 earnings, I think reading a little bit earlier today, their Q3 earnings or their revenues, they're looking at sort of, I think it's about 33 billion for their revenues, which is up from 18 billion for Q3 last year. I mean, that is, if you think about it, that is just a huge uplift in that number. That in itself will have people interested and excited, but then, of course, they'll be able to see sort of the other numbers to give them a deeper insight into the workings of Nvidia, and also how people see it working for not only the next quarter, but for the next 8 quarters, for the next decade, etc. So that is going to have a huge impact, all right? And even if you don't trade US stocks, okay, even if you don't trade Nvidia or invest in it, okay, as I said, it's become such a behemoth that you want to sort of see how the numbers play out, because it will have an impact on markets. And then in tomorrow, and I might add that this is not the only news. There is actually an awful lot of news always coming out every day, but just a case of me picking out ones that I think are worth keeping an eye on. Okay, just even if you're not trading around them, but it's worth, as I said, having an understanding of these news events. These news events will bring in volatility into that market. Volatility is a double-edged sword, okay? And you hear me say that every week. It is a double-edged sword. When you're on the right side of volatility, it makes your trading and investing, a very enjoyable pursuit. When you're on the wrong side of volatility, well, then it can make it somewhat challenging. So it is in your best interest to understand and learn and know when the major news is coming out for that week. The way you can do that is through an economic calendar. There is an economic calendar on the Admiral Markets website. Okay, there's also you'll see in the research terminal, also in the premium analytics portal. And I think in one of our future sessions, probably not this evening, but one of our future sessions where maybe it's a little bit quieter, what we'll do is we will actually go through the Admiral Markets website and show people exactly how you can access that particular data. But tomorrow, whilst there is a bit of data, and I've got it here, there in front of me, there is a little bit of data, and probably the one that people are going to be interested in is in US dollar, or rather affecting the US dollar, will be unemployment claims, okay, for the US. And that's what people will be interested to see, whether there's any particular tick up. We've had it here in the UK last week. Okay, we had sort of the jobs numbers, which were sort of just showing that the trajectory was turning in terms of unemployment numbers were ticking up. And also in the UK we had the GDP numbers deflating, and then this morning we had CPI numbers, the inflation rate just a little bit higher. So we have GDP going down, okay, and CPI inflation going up. Most economists would say that starts to look a lot like stagflation, which is what certainly no government, no economy, no chancellor or their equivalent wants to see. And everyone will be keenly aware to see that. And an element of that will be Friday, where we get retail sales here in the UK. It is a consumer economy, so of course people will be looking to see retail sales as a indication of confidence. How confident is the consumer? Okay, are they looking to spend, or are they basically looking to draw in because they feel less confident about the future? Also on Friday, we have the PMIs, the Purchasing Manager Index, okay, for Europe, okay, in terms of France and Germany, the UK, and also the US as well. As I said, I appreciate some people at the start of their journey, and you hear me say, quite a lot that it's important to know when the news is coming out, but I don't necessarily expect you to be able to analyze the data straight off at the start of your journey. But an easy place to start is looking at PMIs, the Purchasing Managers Index. And why is that? Because really, it is all about where the number prints in comparison to the number 50. So it's on a range between 0 to 100. The number, when it's above 50, shows that part of the economy is expanding. When that number is beneath 50, it shows that part of the economy is contracting. So invariably, there's normally a composite number, but also a number for both manufacturing and services. And so when those numbers come out, it gives people a very quick snapshot and ability to see the health, the state, the confidence in that economy and in those particular sectors of the economy. So it is a very quick and easy way for a new trader, for a new investor to, as I say, take a snapshot of what is coming out of that particular economy and give you the ability to sort of see whether that economy is growing or whether that economy is contracted, because of course that has knock-on impact both to the equities, both to the indexes, and also to the currencies as well. So a swathe of them are coming out on Friday morning, so you might want to just keep an eye and watch out for those. Then we go into next week, and of course we have Mondays are usually quite light news wise. Okay, and the thing that makes sometimes Mondays volatile is if there is invariably geopolitical events happening over the weekend. That's what sometimes has an impact on, let's say, volatility on Mondays. But in terms of actual news coming out, Tuesday next week, 26th, consumer confidence for the US. All right, of course, people are, once again, like we just talked about in terms of retail sales for the UK, US as a consumer economy, people are going to be interested to understand, the sentiment with the American consumer. Will they be demonstrating confidence, okay, or will they basically be pulling in their drawstrings? Wednesday is a busy day next week before our next session. So overnight, which is, for me here in the UK, Tuesday night to Wednesday morning is when we'll get the Australian inflation numbers. We also have the the Royal Bank of New Zealand rate statement, and they're pushing at 4.75 basis points. And I don't think anybody's expecting a change or a move, but they will be interested to see, what the Royal Bank of New Zealand has to say about the likely future trajectory. You've got also Wednesday, you've got preliminary GDP for the US, and you also have core PCE, personal consumer expenditure index. This is very interesting. The reason it's interesting is, one, it's Mr. Powell's favored way of seeing the effect of inflation in the American economy, and actually how consumers are dealing with it. It had waned in terms of its interest or its relevance, okay, over a couple of months, as people thought that the inflation sort of story had been beaten, or invariably the focus was from inflation to US job numbers. But what we have seen over the last month or so, both in the US, but also here in the UK and in other parts of the world, has been an uptick in inflation. And we've also seen that reflected in the yields for US Treasuries, UK gilts, etc. So people will be now interested in the PC number to see, is the inflation story over, or is it likely to make a little bit of a return? Because that invariably will have an impact on not only what the Federal Reserve do, but also what major institutions and major individuals do as well. And that story will probably be further kind of accentuated next Wednesday evening at the same time as we'll be here, is that actually it'll also be the FOMC's meeting minutes from their last meeting. And once again, people are going to be interested to see, what Mr. Powell and his team have got to say, okay, from the conversations we were having a month or two ago about sort of interest rate cuts. And, the first one was back in September at, 0.5%. People were, getting maybe a little bit giddy, a little bit excitable about the sort of both the pace and the depth of those rate cuts. Since of course, the US election, now people are going to be seeing, is Mr. Powell going to change his tune? Are we going to actually see a difference in that trajectory? So invariably, people will be very interested to see what comes out there. So if you think about it, this next week, okay, these next effectively 5 trading days, there is a good deal of big news coming out that will be important for us to keep on top of and to understand. And as I said, there is an economic calendar on the Admiral Markets website, which you should be aware of. You should make it, and there are ones elsewhere on the internet, so there is no excuse not to sort of keep on top of what are the major news elements, and what those are likely to be in terms of the themes that they create. But as I said, the big one might be, certainly in the next 24 hours, is those NVIDIA earnings, and everyone will be keenly sort of awaiting them and seeing how that particularly plays out, not only for the NVIDIA stock, but for the overall US markets. So plenty there. As always, before here we go. Let's just before we go on to looking at the charts, okay. We're only on webinar 3, so I still like to set expectations so people understand what we're looking for, what we're doing. whenever you're engaging in trading, investing, let's just set some very simple rules and expectations, which we will, build upon. Risk management is absolutely key. You must honor it, okay? Whether you be a trader, whether you be an investor, whether you be both. If you do not understand risk management, if you want to learn more about it, you will find that there are webinars that myself and my colleagues have done before. You will find them on the Admiral Markets website or also on the Admiral Markets YouTube channel. I sort of avail yourself of them, okay? I commend you to do that. As we've just talked about, know what news is coming out for that week and for that session. What I particularly like to do, especially for people at the start of the journey, is to consider and thinking about doing your analysis before making decisions. And what do I mean by that? So for myself, for my longer term investing, for my kind of position trading, my swing trading, I tend to do most of my analysis at the weekends. I have about 90 minutes set aside. I sit down and do my analysis. Why do I do it then? Well, it's because the markets are closed, and also my other businesses and endeavors, etc., they're closed, and so it means I'm not distracted. I'm not chasing markets, okay, because they're closed. It means that I can just focus on doing my analysis, which means that A, I'm prepared for the week ahead, and B, I'm ready to deal with whatever happens and stuff. And so I quite often suggest conducting analysis before making any major decisions. It might sound a bit simple, but I was actually at a trading event in London yesterday and talking with some traders, okay, about actually how the importance of good internet connection, okay, and it really is supremely important for you. And people, we take it a little bit for granted that wherever we go, wherever you do, you'll have good internet. That's not always the case, even in capital cities or Western Europe and elsewhere. Okay, so it is important to know that you actually do have good connectivity. Not unsurprisingly, ensuring you're rested and prepared for the session. And remember, for ourselves here with Admiral Markets UK, for long-term trading and investing, we're looking to be long-only buyers. Okay, if we are using the Admiral Markets MT5 Invest platform, just to reiterate and make you aware of that. And also in the kind of second part of second expectations is just when we go across the charts so that you're able to understand what I'm talking about, what you can do. You'll find that my charts generally tend to be either blue or green for bullish candles, red for bearish candles. You'll find my charts. I try to keep them relatively simple, but as the years go on and as I draw things on, they get a little bit more, but ultimately you can see what on my charts, what I have. Let's get the old drawing tool up here to help people. What I'll always have here is is a blue simple 2020 period simple moving average, red 50 period simple moving average, and a green 200 period simple moving average. And also I have fractals, both the up fractals and the down fractals there. Okay, if you're not sure about fractals are, by all means, feel free to ask a question. But also what you will see is that once again, on the Admiral Markets webinar archive and their YouTube channel, you will find that there are sessions that we've done previously, either myself or my colleagues, about fractals themselves, what they are, how they are formed, where they form, and actually how you utilize them. So please, as I say, once again, I commend them to you. Make sure that you can avail yourself of them. And also, just for those of you who in particular like to focus on being investors, long-only investors in UK stocks, Admiral Markets do offer all UK FTSE stocks, and they offer UK ETFs. And I say this every week. Just remember, just because it is based in the UK may not mean it's an ETF of the UK. It could be a UK ETF that looks at the S&P 500, okay, or emerging markets. So just always make sure that you're aware of which ETF you're engaging with. Once again, you have the Admiral Markets Research Terminal, but just remember that for the Admiral Markets MT5 Invest platform, it's long only. And this is where I actually quite find the London Stock Exchange, their website can be very useful as well. It provides lots of data on the individual stocks, even just something simple like a heat map that just allows you to see, who have been the gainers and the losers for that particular day or that particular week. And that can all help in helping you generate and create a picture from which you're able to make your decisions, whether it be an investing strategy or whether it's a shorter term trading opportunity. And except for the first few sessions, we'll go through if you have an investing account, because actually what you're looking to do is to invest in UK stocks long only, but get an investing account, open an invest.mt5 account on the Admiral Markets website. Quite simple, you can log into the dashboard, you can either open a web trading platform, or like I do, you can download the MT5 platform, search for the UK shares that you are particularly looking to work with, click the symbol to open a price chart, and you can create an order, enter the volume, and click buy. Okay, it's once you've done it a few times, it becomes relatively simple, becomes relatively routine in terms of how you look to operate. So let us go across and have a little look at the charts, shall we? Okay, so if you just bear with me a moment, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch across the platforms, and we'll have a little bit of an update and look at what's going on, what might be of interest to us as traders and investors. So just bear with us for a moment. Okay, where should we start? Right. Okay. I'm hoping that you can still hear me. I'm hoping that you can see what is one of the Admiral Markets platforms. Okay. So this is an MT4 platform, and we'll look at the MT5 as well. As I said, I'll show you the sort of MT4 for trading, the MT5 for investing. Give us an opportunity to look at that. Excuse me, a little sip of water there to keep us going. It's been a long day, and it's going to be an interesting night, as I said, with NVIDIA. So I have here a profile on one of my platforms, which is, in this particular case, let's get up the old drawing tool to help us. This is just a simple profile of most of the major global indices. So what I have here is I've got the Dow Jones here, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq. This is ASX 200, the Australian index, Hang Seng 50 there, the Nikkei 225, the FTSE 100, and the DAX, okay, Germany 40. So the whole idea being that, in one quick snapshot, I can get a sense of the markets, okay? I can get a sense of, are we in a trend? And probably you can probably see, certainly for the kind of the top four, yes, we have been in a bullish uptrend. It also gives me a sense of, are we in a risk on environment, or are we in a risk off environment? And whilst maybe the last few days, okay, some people might say there's been a little bit of a risk off environment. Part of that to do, I think, with some of the numbers that come out, but more importantly, some of Mr. Trump's picks, okay, in particular, I think it was his Treasury Secretary, who invariably the markets had, let's say, an issue with, and they demonstrated their unhappiness with by some of the moves in the markets, right? And I think we will probably see that for the next couple of months in terms of all the way up to Mr. Trump's inauguration, that there will be a battle there as the sort of other side of the House in US politics look to try and, try and pen Mr. Trump in, okay? And that might have an impact in terms of, as I said, on the risk on, risk off environment across all of these markets. But as I said, what I'm looking for is, for the most part, we can see there on those weekly charts that, this has been in a pretty much an uptrend there, okay, across NASDAQ, across the S&P 500, across Dow Jones, also across the ASX, the Australian one, even the DAX, okay. FTSE will come to in a minute. Nikkei will have a little look. Hang Seng has been a little bit different as well, but for the most part, for those big major indexes, that has been continues to be in an uptrend. And of course, the question we long to ask is, is that going to remain? Okay, is there anything there that could invariably sort of change our view of that? When I look here, okay, at some of the markets, I'm just going to move myself out of the way so we can look at this. If we look at the Nasdaq, okay, the Nasdaq is a starting point here. This is the weekly chart. Remember what I was saying is that I kind of like to do quite a bit of my analysis at weekends off weekly charts. And what I'm always looking to do is, as soon as I'm onto the chart, is basically updating my levels of support and resistance. That helps me with the fractals there. So we can see over the last couple of weeks, we broke through it was the previous high, the year's high, the all-time high there. We broke through it, but actually you can see for yourself, all right, if I go down to the daily chart, having broken through it on the back of the election, well, you can see that we invariably sort of fell back a little bit there. And yesterday we actually printed a really nice, price action candle there, In particular, I would look at that as what I would call a key reversal. Price pushed to a new low, but then actually reversed, and and then really the bull stepped in, and we bought and we closed above the high of the previous candle, which was a little inside bar. So we've gone into a broadening formation. Now, of course, today's data, as you can see there so far, okay, has been a little bit negative, a little bit bearish. But part of that you have to think of is, as I said, people waiting for that data to come out from Nvidia, and it's a case of is that coming out, and we're going to be interested to see if Nvidia's numbers are fantastic. And let's say the sort of rhetoric, the narrative around it is also supportive. Is this a case of price just being pushed down a little bit before it rallies itself strongly? And interestingly, if we look at, that was the daily on the Nasdaq there. But if I look at the S&P 500 and if I look at the Dow, well, I'm hoping you can see that the S&P 500 did pretty much similar. So the Dow, not as clear in terms of these were very nice, okay, bullish key reversals, okay, a very simple but effective and powerful price action pattern. As I said, if you don't know what those are, you will find videos of them in the Admiral Markets archives, okay, on both the YouTube and both the website. That will give you a little bit of insight into what they are and how you can utilize them. Whereas actually, it was just a little bit of a rejection pin bar there for the Dow, but nonetheless, there was some support there, wasn't there? Some support there that we could actually see, and we'll be interested to see, whether that support holds. If the numbers are very good, I think most people would expect, at least a short-term rally in those stock markets. If those numbers are poor, well, then, I'd be looking for us to sort of drop all the way down towards those kind of 50-period moving averages. So that would be my scenario. I think people are talking about the numbers being very good, which would sort of lend people to the bullish side. But this is one of the reasons for me. Other might choose differently. Personally, I don't like to take positions in front of big news like earnings, because even if the numbers are good, you don't know how the market will react to it. I generally like to sort of, be very much aware of when the news is coming out, but then I will look to do my business. Okay, I will look to do my engagement after the news comes out. Now, sometimes that means that a market may take off and go and rally, strongly, and might not give me the opportunity to join aboard, and that's fair enough. Okay, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Okay, it's everything in trading investing is always easier in hindsight. Right, and part of that is I accept that if I wait till the news comes out, see how the market reacts, that means that sometimes I may not be able to get my position on, and that in itself is the risk that I have to accept. Okay, in that, but I'm happy that it means that I'm more comfortable in the way I operate. But I think you can hopefully see from that, everyone will be sat watching that to see how that plays out. Not only as the news, but there will of course be some trading in the electronic contract. But then, as we get into the main US session tomorrow, in the run up to the opening bell, that will be rather fervent. I would suggest. If we look at a little bit closer to home, what we've got here is the DAX, okay, the German index here. Now, these are not my normal charts, so they're a little bit, there's not really a great deal on them and stuff, but that's actually not a bad thing at all, I think, because it gives you an opportunity to just see clear charts here. Now, I'm intrigued by the DAX, okay, so this is the weekly chart here. Let's get the old drawing. For the weekly chart, we had a huge turnaround in pretty much all indexes back in sort of October 22, October, November 22. And I think hopefully you can see that, we've been pretty much in a very strong uptrend there. This has been a very strong uptrend in DAX, despite there being the issues with conflict in into Ukraine. Also the fact that basically there have been severe economic issues, all right, in Germany. Some of those from industry, some of those because of the sort of knock-on impacts of energy, or rather the lack of availability of cheap energy for Germany. And yet, despite all of these elements, and despite individual stocks having really difficult times, you can see the DAX itself has continued to just to basically grind its way higher, hasn't it? Just grind its way. Okay, it has kept it, and as I've talked about in previous sessions, the ability to sort of, as you hear lots of traders talking about buying the dip, okay, buying the sort of dip in an uptrend being, just a way for people to operate. There will undoubtedly be an awful lot of people who have chosen that way. I am particularly interested. Now I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit to look at, well, okay, what do we see here happening here, okay, in terms of the charts, okay, how they are particularly working themselves out, how they're particularly moving, what are we looking to see, and hopefully maybe you can see. I talked about this. Maybe I think the other week is that if you look at last week, we've had a couple of candles here on the DAX that have, there's lots of wicks there either side. That is generally indicating, indecision. Okay, we've pushed to this high, but we have kind of come back a little bit, and as I said, we're just indicating indecision here. And yep, this week so far we have, traded down a little bit, but of course, remember this is only Wednesday evening. We've got 2 full days left to work with. But my view is here. I will be watching the 20-period moving average. Okay, I'll be watching that significantly to see how is this likely to play out. Okay, what are we like to see? Is this 20-period moving average likely to act as support? You see how it acted as dynamic support there? And that's what I'm going to be looking for as over the next week or two. Okay, can that hold? And we have the knock-on impact of that is, of course, is that Mr. Scholz in Germany. Okay, there's a fair degree of what we might call domestic disputes on the political scene, and we're interested to see, well, okay, how is that going to play out? How is that going to resolve itself? And that in itself might weigh upon the DAX, but actually equally it might power the DAX on because they'll think that there might be a change of government or there was a new pathway coming. But DAX is most definitely there of interest to us to watch. Once again, looking a little bit closer to home, I'll have a little look at the FTSE, the UK here, okay? Just looking at how that is looking to play out and what I've got here. Let's just zoom in. Once again, this is the weekly chart on the FTSE. Let's just draw in some support resistance. Those of you who joined us, we've talked about how really I'm just going to, for the vast majority of since this kind of spring, early summer, we have for the most part, been in a range there. Okay, and I'm hoping you can see that clearly. Okay, having rallied up strongly at the start of the year, then really, we've just sat ourselves in that range between about, 83.50 to 8100. Okay, so 83.50, 8100. Sort of 250 pip range, probably maybe a little bit wider, but hopefully just get the idea and the understanding that we have traded this way. And what I've said over the last couple of weeks is that nothing would really happen until Miss Reeves gave her budget at the end of October. And I think what you can see here is, I'd say over the last few weeks is that basically, the drop in the FTSE is probably an interpretation of how markets and companies viewed that particular budget. And once again, a little bit like the DAX, what we saw here, I'm hoping is what we saw here is that you can see is that we had, another indecision candle. Okay, this is what I would term as like a high wave candle, a small body, big wicks that are pretty much the same size at either side. Okay, so it's indecision, and not only is it indecision, but we were at a we're at just at a level that is just near a significant big round number here. Okay, so here we go. Let's just pull that up there so you can hopefully see it. So we touched down to 8,000, okay, and we pushed it back up above. But once again, I would see us here. We are sat on that 50-period moving average there. And what I'm really interested in and what I'm particularly looking at is to see, once again, will this hold this week? So far, we've had a little bit of a wick up, but as you can see, we're still trading above that weekly 50-period moving average, and that's what as the trader side of me would be particularly looking at. Okay, to understand that, and certainly when I go down to the daily chart, excuse me, let's get the old drawing tool. We can see that having been up here, okay, at the kind of these levels where we have seen price drift away from, we have seen it sort of fall away there. Okay, certainly the last few days. Okay, we had a little bit of we got down to 8,000, big round number. Okay, we bounced off it a little bit, but now we're at a decision. Okay, can it go higher? Or actually, are we going to take another move down towards the 8,000 number? My own view was I think we might sort of take another sort of drift our way down to 8,000, and then that 8,000 level becomes an inflection point, a point at which the market has to make a decision. Is it going to rally, or are we going to sort of break and go down lower? So in terms of the FTSE, that's what I'd be looking at, and that's what I'd be kind of keenly interested to see, how that particularly plays out. And so certainly for the traders joining us tonight, that would definitely be one to watch or to take a look at. Okay, but even for investors, longer term pictures, we might want to sort of just invariably make sure that we're aware of that as part of our overall analysis. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at, I think we're going to look, because we've done FTSE, we're going to have a little look at sterling. Okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate there is a global audience, but we are Admiral Markets UK. And then what we'll do is we'll look at the MT5 and we'll have a look at Nvidia, but most important, we'll have a little look at some UK stocks and how they are particularly looking to play out themselves. Okay, so just bear with me. What I'll do is in the same way that I have in the same way that I have a profile for indices, I have a profile for equities, I have a profile for commodities. I also have a profile for sterling. In fact, I have a profile for most of the major FX pairs or FX currencies, okay, because that is an awful lot of the trading work that I do myself. All right, but I think it's always good for us to, even if you're focusing on equities, if you're focusing on indices, an indication or an understanding of the currency is always beneficial and useful as well. So internet's a little bit slow this evening. Okay, it's clearly there's something going on there that people are intrigued in or watching. But we get there. We'll get there in the end. And as I said, we can have a little look at the charts themselves here, and in particular, we've already had a look at the FTSE. Okay, so we've got that as an indication. But now what we'll do is we'll just have a little look at the pound against the dollar. For some reason, there's gone a little bit slow here. Just maybe wonder if there's evening, as of course, is that there's kind of people at home, all right, watching their favourite shows. Okay, just basically taking all of things as always. Let's just have a little look and see if we can do that. Whilst that updates, maybe we'll have a little look at. Maybe we'll switch across to that, and we'll come back to the FTSE. We'll come back to the sterling if the internet is slowing a little bit. So what I have here is in the same way that we just looked at the charts there, okay, of the major indices, okay, on the Admiral Markets MT4 platform. This is the Admiral Markets MT5 Invest platform, and what I'm looking here is I'm just looking here using the research terminal. Just with us, just 1 second here. Just we can look at here is invariably as I said, the Admiral's research terminal, which clients have access to. I'm looking here down at the calendar, and not unsurprisingly, okay, you can see here for Wednesday the kind of major news and data is invariably is the Nvidia there, okay, and what we can do is we can go into that, and this is something you have access to, and we'll provide the details. And as I said, we're waiting for the Q3 results, okay, and we'll see that happening over the air. As I said, that'll be updated as the data comes out. It's just telling you, it's also giving you a little bit of data there in terms of the earning history, how that's played out, and what we can look forward to as a trader ourselves. And then there's also the associated news as well. So if you're interested in a particular instrument, okay, maybe it's a stock, maybe it is an index, maybe it's an ETF, maybe it is a commodity, maybe it's a currency, you'll be able to sort of utilize these news feeds, okay, and this data that's in the research terminal to help you with your decision making. So this is normally my United Kingdom profile on the MT5 Invest, but just because of the of where we are, because it's such a major play, we'll have a quick look at the Nvidia chart here. So this is the Nvidia chart on the sort of the weekly chart here. Remember what I was saying is that the way I like to play it is invariably we have the I've just got blue bullish candles, the blue 20 period moving average, the red 50, and the green 200. Nice and simple. As I say to all traders, okay, good trends leap off the chart at you, okay? You shouldn't need to force it. And I think it's fair to say that for the most part, NVIDIA has been in a fantastic trend. Even if you're completely new to a trading and investing journey, most people will have heard of NVIDIA and will have heard, exactly of some of its stellar performance on stock markets over the last couple of years. But of course, we are now here. We're now, here, as you can see, is that, we had a little bit of, let's call this like a summer tantrum, but that wasn't really an NVIDIA tantrum. That was an awful lot of that was to do with the raise in Japanese interest rates and how that unwound carry trades and how that had knock-on impacts to all markets. But we can see that we shook that off, and certainly for these last couple of months, you can see that price has continued. And we've just basically seen price there making higher highs, higher lows as it has worked its way up there. We are here, just not too far from its highs at all. And once again, we were saying earlier that we'd expect maybe the news to be better. Okay, people are expecting good results from NVIDIA, and good results. Okay, and if those results, are better than expected, well, then invariably that would probably have most people with a bullish sentiment towards that. The other side is, of course, if those numbers are poor, or let's say the forward guidance or forward projections is poor, well, then invariably what we might see is price retracing back to that 20-period moving average, which would be around about $130. But as I said, that would be if we see poor numbers or poor future projections or poor commentary. Most analysts, looking through today, are expecting really very good numbers, real demand for the Blackwell chips, okay, and that driving investor and trader sentiment. So, as I said, we'll be waiting to see how that plays out. But if it's good numbers, I would be expecting that to certainly at least, assault the previous highs that we saw here at the sort of start of this month, and really there where we are just tickling the soft underbelly of $150, and that's what I'd be interested in, and that's what I'd be particularly looking towards. Okay, so we'll just finish off with a couple of sterling because I don't want us to overrun too far. But in particular, as I said, this is my sterling profile here, and I'm just keen, of course, to have a quick look at pound against US dollar. For those of you who've joined us for the last few weeks, have talked about how we had seen strength in sterling earlier in the year, and you can see that there, really nice trend. But actually, how the sterling strength was starting to sort of ebb away. Part of that is to do with the US dollar strength that we have seen in the sort of the US election victory, and also a case of, as we said, let's say the loss of confidence in the UK after the recent budget. And you can see that has basically accelerated last week. You can see how, having been here trading up at about 134.50, okay, a couple of months ago, we have now been down trading, 26.50, quite a significant move there, a significant change, and that's where we find ourselves now. The daily chart, if I go down to it, you can see that, for the last 6 weeks, okay, last 6 weeks, that has really been in a significant downtrend, which accelerated, okay, and I think that's probably reflection of some of the sentiment, okay, in the post-US election. It's almost like people are having a sentiment of go long the US, short the UK and Europe. Okay, that's a very, very simplistic view, but that's what we've seen, and it is being reflected by what we see in the charts there with pound against the US dollar. And then what we'll do is we'll finish off. It seems that the internet is a little bit slow this evening, so I'm not sure if there's something major going on right this moment and stuff, but I also finish off on euro sterling because I think it's an important instrument, and I appreciate we have people who live, work, have homes in both the UK and Europe, so they are of interest to what we see here. Certainly, pound against euro against pound on the weekly chart, what we've seen there is just it has been a downward trend all year, reflecting euro weakness and relative sterling strength. But we have got rather messy here. Okay, over the last couple of months, we've been down towards the area around about 83. We broke 84, down towards 83 area there. But as I'm hoping to see, even on the weekly chart, that is a little bit. That is just a little bit. How would I call that? It's very choppy. Okay, very choppy indeed. And if I go down to the daily chart, all right, well, we can see. I'm hoping you can see here that the area here around about 83.20 ish was has acted as support. We bust beneath it, but we came back up above it, and now I would see we're a little bit pinned. All right, we're a little bit pinned. There's the daily 50 is sloping down. We can see this kind of level of support here, and I'm looking to see is this going to be a descending triangle, which breaks us down, and maybe we'll get the data on Friday with PMIs, or really is there a case of we're going to get good news out of Europe, and that will help us, pop our way back up towards that daily 200. We are coming to a point where price is likely to make that decision, and so I'm keenly awaiting that. And as I said, I think some of the data that might come out over the next week might have an impact in terms of the way we look to operate there. Okay, so I'm just going to draw to a conclusion. It seems like I have a little bit of a challenge with the internet, so I'm not going to push my luck. Just remember that join us every Wednesday at 7 o'clock London for the Market Pulse weekly update, where we'll just take a look at the major news, the major themes affecting the market for the week ahead, have a look at the analysis of some of the major global markets, and talk about trading and investing opportunities, and also have a look at some of the tech solutions provided by Admiral Markets. So hopefully you'll join us next Wednesday, 27th of November, 7 o'clock London time. Okay, as always, just looking at those same themes and topics. Make sure you can check your inbox for the webinar link, or by all means, okay, just sign up on the Admiral Markets website. But also make sure that you subscribe to the Admiral Markets YouTube channel, and there you'll also get indications where this has the ability to be live streamed. If you've got any questions or comments, then by all means, you feel free to contact us. You can see the email address there, uk@admiralmarkets.com. There's a number there. As I said, there's an Admiral Markets YouTube channel as well. You, by all means, please check out and subscribe and follow. And always, if you've got particular questions or comments or some feedback or things that you'd like to see me touch upon or talk about in our future sessions, then I'll be very happy to do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's we'll draw that to a close here this evening. I hope that you found that useful. That's just given you a little bit of insight of some things that you can take on board and take a little bit of a look at. As always, I wish you the best of success in your own trading and investing endeavours. Have a fabulous week, ladies and gentlemen, and I will look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Take care, trade well, and take care of yourselves. Many thanks, everybody. Cheers.